My own daughter had me thrown at her wedding. 10 minutes later, everything changed. The security guard grabbed my arm. Sir, you need to leave. I looked through the open ballroom doors. My daughter, the little girl I had carried on my shoulders, was standing there in a beautiful white wedding dress. Our eyes met for just a second. She looked away. Then she quietly said something to the guard. Please get him out of here. That hurt more than anything I'd ever experienced. More than 20 years of 12-hour shifts. More than broken bones. More than losing my wife. I didn't argue. I simply nodded and walked toward the exit. I had grease on my hands. My work boots were covered in dust. I come straight from the garage. I didn't have time to go home and change. Not after the phone call I'd received that morning. Your daughter is getting married today. She hadn't invited me. I found out by accident. A customer in my repair shop was talking about the biggest wedding in town. When he mentioned her name, my heart stopped. I closed the garage early. Bought the only gift I could afford. A small wooden music box. I had made it myself over 6 months. Every tiny piece was carved by hand. Inside the lid, I engraved one sentence. No matter what happens, you'll always be my little girl. I never imagined I'd be holding that gift while being escorted out by security. As I reached the parking lot, a young valet ran after me. Sir, you forgot this. He handed me the little wooden box. I smiled sadly. No, I guess she doesn't want it. The valet looked embarrassed. I'm sorry. So am I. Just then, the sound of dozens of engines echoed across the parking lot. Every guest turned toward the entrance. 1, 2, 5, 10 identical black luxury SUVs slowly pulled into the driveway. Nobody had expected them, not even the groom. And the first person to step out was looking for me. The entire parking lot fell silent. The first SUV stopped just a few feet from me. Then the second. Then the third. By the time the 10th vehicle pulled in, even the wedding band had stopped playing. The valet looked at me. Sir, are they with you? I laughed. I don't think so. The driver's door of the first SUV opened. A tall man in a tailored black suit stepped out. Gray hair, perfect posture, the kind of presence that made people instinctively move aside. He looked around for only a second. Then his eyes landed on me. There you are. He walked straight toward me. Not toward the bride. Not toward the groom. Toward me. Before I could say a word, he reached out his hand. Mr. Mason, it's been too long. I frowned. I'm sorry. Do I know you? He smiled. You probably don't remember me. But 23 years ago, you changed my life? I searched his face. Nothing. He noticed my confusion. I was 16. My car broke down outside your garage. I had no money. You fixed it anyway. Then he laughed. And you refused to take a single dollar. A memory flashed through my mind. A skinny teenager. Old pickup. Broken alternator. I'd almost forgotten. He hadn't. I've been looking for you for years. I blinked. For me? He nodded. I finally found you last month. Then he noticed the gift box still in my hands. You were leaving? I forced a smile. My daughter doesn't want me here. His expression changed instantly. He looked toward the ballroom, then back at me. Who told you to leave? I hesitated. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Before I could answer, the groom stepped outside. Expensive tuxedo. Perfect smile. Until he saw the line of black SUVs. He immediately walked toward us. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm Daniel. Can I help you? The older man turned around slowly. His smile disappeared. Oh, you already have. Daniel looked confused. I'm sorry. The man extended his hand. My name is William Hawthorne. The groom's face turned white. He knew exactly who he was. Almost everyone in the business world did. Because William Hawthorne owned the investment company Daniel had been trying to impress for over 3 years. And at that exact moment, Daniel realized the man he'd just thrown out of his wedding was shaking hands with the most important person of his career. Daniel quickly forced a smile. Mr. Hawthorne, what an incredible surprise. He stepped forward with his hand extended. William didn't move. Instead, he looked at me. Mr. Mason, Were you invited to this wedding? I stayed silent for a moment. Finally, I answered honestly. No, I wasn't. William frowned. Then why are you here? I looked down at the small wooden music box. Because she's my daughter. For a second, nobody spoke. Daniel's smile disappeared. Wait, you're Emma's father? I nodded. Daniel looked genuinely confused. But she told me her father passed away years ago. Those words hit harder than I expected. Even the valet slowly looked toward me. I quietly replied, No, I've been repairing engines 6 days a week. Not dead. William turned toward Daniel. Did you know this? Daniel hesitated. Emma said she didn't have any family. Before he could finish, the ballroom doors opened. Emma stepped outside. She had clearly heard everything. Her eyes met mine. Then she looked at William. Mr. Hawthorne. I can explain. William's voice remained calm. I'd love to hear it. Emma took a deep breath. My father never wanted anything more than fixing cars. He embarrassed me. He still smells like oil. He doesn't belong here. Every word landed like a punch. I lowered my head, not because I was ashamed, because I couldn't believe I was hearing it from my own daughter. William slowly walked toward her. You know, my father was a coal miner. My mother cleaned hotel rooms. They both came home covered in dirt every evening. He paused. I was proud of them. Emma looked down. William continued. The smell of honest work has never embarrassed me. The smell of arrogance always does. Daniel swallowed hard. The guests standing near the entrance had stopped pretending not to listen. Every conversation in the ballroom had gone quiet. Then William looked back at me. Mr. Mason, may I ask you one question? I nodded. What exactly did you want to give your daughter today? Without saying a word, I opened the little wooden music box. The tiny melody filled the silent entrance. William read the engraving inside. His eyes stopped on the words. No matter what happens, you'll always be my little girl. He closed the box very gently. Then he looked at Emma and quietly said something that nobody there would ever forget. William gently closed the music box. For a long moment, he didn't say a word. Then he looked directly at Emma. If this man hadn't shown up today, you would have spent the rest of your life believing success is measured by appearances. The entire entrance was silent. Even the photographers had lowered their cameras. William took the music box from my hands. Do you know what this is worth? Emma shook her head. It looks homemade. It is. William smiled, which is exactly why it's priceless. He slowly turned the little box over. Every scratch, every carved line, represents hours of someone's life. He looked back at Emma. Your father didn't buy you something expensive. He gave you time, and time is the only thing money can never replace. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Daniel quietly whispered, Emma. She didn't answer. William continued. I've spent 40 years meeting wealthy people. Some own private islands. Some own companies. But very few are truly rich. He pointed toward me. This man worked with his hands, buried his wife, raised you alone, and still found 6 months to make this gift. He paused. So tell me, which one of us is actually wealthy? Nobody had an answer. Then something unexpected happened. One of the elderly guests slowly stood up. He walked toward me. I know this man. Everyone turned. He repaired my truck 15 years ago. I couldn't afford the bill. He told me to pay him whenever life got better. The old man smiled. I came back 3 years later. He refused to take my money. Another guest stepped forward. He fixed my daughter's car the night before she left for college. Another voice. He stayed until midnight so my wife could get to chemotherapy. Then another. And he never charged us. Within seconds, people all around the entrance began sharing stories. I stood there, speechless. Emma looked around in disbelief. It was as if she just met a completely different version of her own father. William quietly leaned toward Daniel. Do you understand now? Daniel nodded slowly. I do. William's expression hardened. No, I don't think you do. Because what he said next changed the entire wedding. William looked around the room. Then he turned to Daniel. If this is how you treat the man who sacrificed everything for his daughter, what does that say about the kind of man you are? Daniel couldn't answer. William reached into his jacket and pulled out a black folder. I came here today for one reason. Daniel's face lit up. He knew exactly what that folder was. The investment proposal. The deal he'd been chasing for nearly 3 years. William slowly opened it. Every guest watched in silence. Daniel took one hopeful step forward. Mr. Hawthorne. William raised his hand. Not another word. He pulled out the contract. Signed. Ready to go. Then, without taking his eyes off Daniel, he tore it in half. Once. Twice. Again. Tiny pieces of paper floated to the marble floor. A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom. Daniel stood frozen. You just destroyed a $50 million investment. William nodded calmly. No, you did. Daniel's voice cracked. Please, don't make a business decision based on a misunderstanding. William smiled. This isn't about business. It's about judgment. He slowly walked closer. I invest in people. And today, you show me exactly who you are. Daniel's hands were shaking. You don't understand. William interrupted him. Oh, I understand perfectly. If a man can disrespect the father of the woman he claims to love, he'll eventually betray his partners, his employees, and probably his wife. The silence became unbearable. Then, William turned toward Emma. My dear, I don't think your father is the one who should be ashamed today. Emma finally broke down. Tears streamed down her face. She looked at me. Dad, it was the first time she called me that in years. She walked toward me slowly. I was so afraid people would judge me that I became the one judging you. She couldn't hold back her tears anymore. I'm so sorry. For a moment, I simply looked at her. Then I opened my arms. She ran into them, like she used to when she was 6 years old. The ballroom erupted into applause. But the biggest surprise hadn't happened yet. William smiled. Mr. Mason, I have one more question. Would you be interested in running every mechanical division in my company? The room fell silent again. Even I thought I'd heard him wrong. For a moment, I thought William was joking. Run your mechanical division? He nodded. I've spent years searching for leaders. Most of them had impressive resumes, expensive suits, perfect presentations. He smiled, but very few had integrity. He stepped closer. I can teach someone how to manage a company. I can't teach them to become the kind of man who spends 6 months carving a gift for a daughter, who doesn't even invite him to her wedding. The room was completely silent. William handed me a business card. Think about it. I looked at him. What makes you believe I could do it? He laughed. Because for 25 years, you've managed something much harder. What? People. I frowned. He continued. You never just repaired engines. You repaired lives. He pointed toward the guests. Every person standing here has a story about you. Not because you fixed their cars, because you treated them with dignity. He turned to the crowd. Tell me, how many CEOs can say that? No one answered. They didn't have to. Then, someone in the back started clapping. One person, then another. Within seconds, the entire ballroom was on its feet. Even the waiters, even the musicians, everyone, except Daniel. He remained frozen, watching the opportunity of a lifetime disappear. Emma took my hand. Dad, if you let me, I'd like you to walk me down the aisle. I looked into her eyes, the same blue eyes she'd had as a little girl. I thought you were ashamed of me. She broke down crying again. I wasn't ashamed of you. I was ashamed that I cared so much about what other people thought. I squeezed her hand. We've both lost enough time. She nodded. So, will you? I smiled. I've been waiting for this moment since the day you were born. A few minutes later, the ballroom doors opened once more. But this time, I wasn't being escorted out. I was walking beside my daughter, head held high, and every single guest stood to their feet. Even Daniel. As we reached the altar, Emma whispered, I finally understand what being rich really means. I smiled. No, sweetheart. You finally understand what being loved looks like. The ceremony ended just before sunset. Most people expected the story to end there. It didn't. After the reception, William asked me to step outside. His driver opened the rear door of another SUV. Inside was a long black case. William smiled. I've been carrying this around all day. He placed it in my hands. Open it. Inside was an old wrench. Worn, scratched. Its chrome finish had almost disappeared. I looked at him, confused. What is this? He smiled. 27 years ago, my father owned a tiny repair shop. He taught me one lesson. He picked up the wrench. He said, never trust a man whose hands have never built anything. William looked at my hands. They were still rough, scarred. Grease had stained the lines in my skin long ago. You reminded me of him. Then he handed me another envelope. Inside, there wasn't an employment contract. There wasn't a paycheck. There wasn't company stock. It was something much bigger. The deed to my old repair shop. I stared at it. What? William nodded. I bought the building 3 months ago. I've already paid for the renovations. You said you loved fixing engines. I don't want to take that away from you. I looked at him in disbelief. So, what do you want from me? He smiled. Nothing. I want to give you a choice. You can become an executive, or you can own the finest repair shop in the state. You decide. For the first time in years, I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that comes from peace. 6 months later, the garage reopened. It was bigger, cleaner, busier than ever. But one thing never changed. If someone couldn't afford the repair, we fixed the car anyway. Every Friday afternoon, Emma came by with lunch. Sometimes Daniel came too, not to ask for forgiveness, just to learn. One day, Emma looked around the shop and smiled. Dad, I used to think success meant wearing a suit. She looked at the mechanics, laughing together. Then at me. I was wrong. I smiled. No, you were just looking in the wrong place. She hugged me. I've never been prouder to be your daughter. That was worth more than every luxury car, every investment, every dollar William could ever have offered. Because in the end, the greatest reward wasn't being recognized by a billionaire. It was hearing my daughter say, I'm proud of you, Dad. And after waiting so many years, that was all I'd ever wanted. What matters more to you? Success, or the people who stand beside you when nobody else does? Let me know in the comments.